And good evening once again, day 162 of the Biden administration. And indeed, NBC News reporting tonight the Manhattan DA's office and the New York Attorney General's office together have obtained indictments against the Trump Organization and its longtime CFO, Allen Weisselberg. As expected, the charges said to be tax-related and are expected to be unsealed in court tomorrow in Manhattan. Washington Post was first to report the news tonight. The paper adds this: Weisselberg is expected to surrender Thursday morning at the office of Manhattan DA Cyrus Vance. He is expected to be arraigned later in the day in front of a state court judge. The Trump Organization will also be arraigned, represented in court by one of its attorneys. Weisselberg has reportedly been under pressure to cooperate with prosecutors and flip on one Donald Trump. The investigations, of course, continue. Phil, I'd like to start with you and your beat, currently and former. You covered Trump through all manner of controversy. And to repeat, for those who don't know, something you know well, his company is a small family outfit at the end of the day. What are they saying about what's coming tomorrow, and what must they be thinking?
Well, Brian, there, as you can imagine, is a great deal of concern within the Trump orbit and within the Trump family about the indictments that are expected tomorrow. This could be bruising for the company itself. Clearly, it will also be bruising for Mr. Weisselberg, the financial officer there. But keep in mind how much of Donald Trump's personal brand, his politics, his personal family wealth is tied up in this company. And if this company were to be charged, there could be financial repercussions in terms of the loans that become due that could eventually lead to bankruptcy by the company. But importantly, and this is the real danger for Donald Trump, Weisselberg could begin cooperating with the state prosecutors, and potentially that could lead to more trouble for the former president. And so while Trump's allies say this week that they're pleased to see that the former president is not himself going to be charged, as far as we know, tomorrow, they know this investigation is not over and that there could be another chapter to it. And it's one of the reasons I think we've seen Donald Trump react so strongly in his public statements, including tonight, calling this a witch hunt and sort of the latest in a series of investigations to try to take him down.
Paul, Counselor, I have one for you. Here's how the New York Times puts it tonight. Interviews with 18 current and former associates of Weisselberg, as well as a review of legal findings, financial records, other documents, paint a portrait of a man whose unflinching devotion to Mr. Trump will now be put to the test. Weisselberg had become so woven into the fabric of the Trump Organization that when Mr. Trump moved to the White House in 2017, he entrusted Weisselberg, along with the former president's adult sons, with running his company. So tomorrow, Paul, starting with the unsealing of the indictments, what happens next?
I'll be looking at the actual charges, especially the money that's involved and the story that the indictment tells about the evidence. The defense is portraying this as a petty and political investigation about taxing fringe benefits. The prosecutors could respond with a speaking indictment that describes the crime not just as tax evasion, but as the Trump Organization and its CFO intentionally stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the government. The prosecutor's narrative will be that the Trump Organization was essentially a criminal enterprise with a consistent pattern of fraud. And Brian, the money is important because that determines what the potential exposure is for Weisselberg. If it's a very small or relatively small dollar amount, even if Weisselberg is convicted, he's not going to jail. If it's a lot of money, though, he could potentially face years in prison, and that would be powerful incentive for him to flip, to cooperate with the prosecutors and deliver Donald Trump.